Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, in recent days, pretty much since the beginning of the Trump second term, we've said quite generous things about President Trump. We said, well, maybe, he seems to be making some appropriate noises. He seems to want to end wars. He seems to want to act as a peacemaker. However, on a flight back from California the other day, he said some very, very troubling things in an impromptu news conference. And he talked about Gaza. And he said something that we had hoped never to hear and something that we had feared, that there might be a policy along those lines. Namely, he seemed to suggest an ethnic cleansing of Gaza, just simply getting rid of the Palestinians. And as the media reported, that would be a departure from previous U.S. policy. It would be quite a departure from previous U.S. policy and quite a departure from United Nations policy. But let's just say exactly what he said in this impromptu news conference. And here we have the New York Times headline. It says there, which is Trump says he wants Jordan and Egypt to take in Palestinians from Gaza. Now, we always suspected that that was the position of the hardliners, the extremists in the Netanyahu government, the people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich.
And it is their position.
Yeah, exactly. That they want to just shove them and hit, give let Egypt and Jordan take care of the problem, and with American money, of course, because Israel's not going to come up with any money, so it'll be American money to take care of it. President Trump said he had spoken to Jordan's leader and planned to call Egypt on Sunday. Most of Gaza's 2 million residents have been displaced in 15 months of fighting. Now, he did speak to King Abdullah, but the readout, as published on the White House website and on the Jordan's website, made no mention of any plan for Jordan to take the Palestinians. Here the Times goes on. President Trump said he had told King Abdullah of Jordan during a phone call on Saturday that he would like Jordan and Egypt to take in more Palestinians from Gaza, an idea that is likely to reignite debate about the future of nearly 2 million Palestinians. Again,
What,
debate? What debate?
yeah, what
Where's the
debate?
debate?
And take in more Palestinians. What does that mean?
Right, right. Well, that's it. I mean, but the point is, there's no debate. I mean, Gaza and the West Bank are, according to innumerable United Nations resolutions, supposed to constitute a future Palestinian state. I mean, that's innumerable UN Security Council resolution. That's the view of the international community. There's no debate here. That that the idea that you can just drive them out as if somehow, well, he says this and I said that. Well, there's a debate. Who's right and who's wrong.
Well, and a debate, nominally speaking, is that an issue has um, uh, identifying an issue can have these points, but you can also look at this from this point, meaning
Right.
there is a sense of equality.
That's
No,
right.
there's no debate here.
There's no debate exactly. But this is the New York Times circumlocution. I said to him, this is they're quoting Trump. I said to him, I'd love for you to take on more because I'm looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now and it's a mess.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump told reporters on Air Force One. He added that he would also like Egypt to take in more Palestinians and that he would speak to the country's president, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Sunday. And then this is the Washington Post. Again, Trump wants Jordan and Egypt to take more refugees, suggests plan to clean out Gaza.
Do they, does the Washington Post, are they even sensitive, what's I'm sorry, what was the title, George, to
Okay.
clean up?
Yeah. Clean out, but they did put it in quotes, clean out.
Yeah, but I don't care if it's in air quotes or not. Clean out. I mean, that's ethnic cleansing.
Of course. That's right. And it says President Donald Trump said he would like to see Jordan and Egypt house Palestinian refugees from Gaza in order to just clean out the enclave he described as a demolition site. Well, who turned it into a demolition site? Isn't that rewarding those who demolished the site and turned it into a demolition site?
Well, and also to house.
Right.
I mean, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Is that like checking into a Motel 6 for a certain amount of time? I mean, or you put them in a dwelling, but what do they do? They're just in the house?
right.
Okay. I mean, again, this kind of journalism is so fundamentally dishonest.
Right, and you're talking about 2 million people. That's an awful lot of people to house. I mean, it's not, not like, oh, well, here's a room and board for two people.
Well, and also, and I'm sure it may be in the following slides, but are these people permanent exiles? Are they illegal aliens? What is their
Well,
status
that's
going
that's exactly the
to
point
be?
because yeah, go on.
Oh, go ahead, keep on. Yeah.
No, but that's exactly the point because of course once they're out of Gaza, they're not going back. I
Well,
mean that's the whole point.
they won't be allowed
They
back.
won't be
Okay.
allowed to go back. That's exactly it. That's why they don't leave Gaza, and that's why, in fact, Egypt and Jordan and none of the Arab world, wants to take in Palestinians for the simple, not because they hate the Palestinians, but because they know if you come in here, that's it. They're never going to allow you back in. And so that's why essentially they're not going to accept them in, whether it's Egypt or Libya and so on, because basically this is just would be a part of an Israeli plan to shove them out. Oh yeah, yeah, go on, go to Egypt, and see maybe they'll give you citizenship there. And that's why they're saying no, absolutely not. No, you don't get citizenship because you are still a Palestinian. You got to keep emphasizing the point that Gaza and the West Bank are Palestinian land and will become the future Palestinian state.
Well, there is still a little bit of confusion about Marco Rubio's order on freezing foreign aid. The more I read about it, George, it's a sieve. I mean, some things are going out, some things
Right,
are
right,
not. It's very unclear,
right,
okay? But two countries were singled out, Egypt and Israel. Well, of course,
right,
Israel is always singled out, so we don't need to talk about it.
right,
But why is Egypt in the exception category? Because it's always teetering on collapse. And
right,
so now you want to send hundreds of thousands, a million, more than a million people into Egypt?
right.
Really?
Well, and exactly. And when you're talking about how much this would cost,
Oh,
you're talking about just a staggering amount of money. And where's this money going? So again, you have this notion, Trump, oh, we got to deal with the budget deficit. So, okay, so your budget deficit. So your plan is a massive tax cut. Another part of your plan is to increase US military spending up to 5% of GDP. I mean, he says everyone in NATO goes to 5%. So the United States, which at the moment is about 3.5%, that also goes up to 5%. And then you got to pay for all this. That's that's quite a packet. Where's the money going to come from?
I suggest since George has mentioned it, there's an article at Responsible Statecraft. I don't know why we're doing this. So something's going on over there, but some interesting projections about the U.S. Budget and economy if the U.S. were to spend 5%. Just as an aside, it's kind of an interesting. Remarkably, it's very, very short too.
Right,
So a
right,
hat tip over there.
yeah. Speaking to reporters abroad, I think he means aboard Air Force One on
What's
Saturday.
wrong with you? I think journalists should know. Okay, anyway.
Abroad, exactly the difference between abroad and aboard. Yes, they should. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump said, "You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing and say, it's over." What's over? I don't know. I'm just kind of.
The
What do you
genocide.
mean by it's over?
The genocide is over.
I
I mean, this is This goes into the unspeakable category, everyone. Sorry, Trump fans,
Right.
but this is just.
Right. Exactly.
I'm
So,
sorry. I am going to go as far to say I'm sorry to upset people, but the ICJ needs to open a file.
but that's the thing,
I'm sorry, George. He said this.
you said it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And then, you're saying, oh, well, we're just going to shove them out. And then we impose this burden on someone else. And so, oh, well, I talked to Sisi. Well, what does that mean? You talk to Sisi? Why would Egypt want to undertake? I mean, Egypt has plenty of problems of its own. Why would Egypt want to undertake anything like this? It's not just the huge costs involved, but the huge problems it's going to create. I mean, you're going to have 1.5 million Palestinians who are going to turn their rage against Egypt because Egypt has now taken part in this plan. And it's so upset, like, why would any Egyptian leader do anything so crazy? I don't think Sisi is crazy. I don't.
Well,
He's not going to agree to this.
well, we'll see. If you don't have very much leverage, this is what happens. This is what happens when you're an ally of the United States. Also, with Jordan, and again, because the news is moving at such a pace. I remind everyone that there was a forced regime change in Syria last month.
Mm.
Remember?
Right,
Okay.
right.
I'd like to point out with the uptick in violence against the people of the West Bank, we have to put Jordan into focus here. Remember, everyone, the population, when you consider the population of Jordan, the majority of them are
Right,
Palestinians. Do you
right.
think Jordan needs more Palestinians?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And there's, absolutely no takers whatsoever for that.
It's not because the lack of sympathy. I'm sure it's there, but it's bread and butter. I mean, scarcity. Okay,
Well,
there's a
there's scarcity,
scarcity.
but
Jordan is not a rich country.
it's not a rich. But the point is, what's very important to Egypt and Jordan and to every part of the Arab world is they don't want to facilitate
Yes,
Israeli ethnic cleansing. They know, yeah, of
yes,
course, this is exactly what Israel wants. Israel wants to shove
definitely.
these people out and dump them on someone else. Hey, it's your problem. Not going to be our problem. Hey, now we can build condos here. We can make this into a beautiful Mediterranean resort. They're your problem. And so none of these countries is going to take part in this Israeli ethnic cleansing operation.
Since George mentioned it, and I do not, because this topic is way too serious for levity, we have to remember that his Jared Kushner said this less than a year ago
Yeah,
about what
right,
to do with Gaza.
right,
It's valuable seafront
right.
properties and all that. Trump is echoing
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that incident is how he thinks. He looks
How
on
do you
Gaza and
think?
says, yeah, this is beautiful Mediterranean beachfront property we can have here. Trump said he spoke with King Abdullah of Jordan earlier in the day, complimenting him for hosting large numbers of Palestinian refugees and adding that he would like Jordan and Egypt to take in more people. Almost everything's demolished and people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing at a different location where they can maybe live in peace. Now let
George,
me
just real quick.
no, go on, go on.
My impression is, and I think I'm right in thinking this, King Abdullah II didn't bring up the topic.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sure he didn't.
Okay. So, I mean, so who is prodding Trump to bring up the
Right.
topic?
Yeah.
Okay. Elise Stefanik, Mike
Mm-hmm.
Huckabee,
Right.
Marco Rubio. Do we
Right.
need to list everyone?
Right. 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 Let's not forget, we should mention Elise Stefanik said that the West Bank, Israel has a biblical claim on the West Bank. So that's very nice. So that's a
Yeah,
representative of
well,
the United States government who now claims that Israel has a biblical claim on the West Bank.
people can have their own perception of God and what God they want to believe in. When I think of the great deity, I don't think of a real estate agent. I guess she does. Okay.
Right. Well, now she, I think, she's an ideologue. I don't. She doesn't
Oh
think
yeah,
about
well, no,
money.
no, she's not even an ideologue. She's just an opportunist. Okay.
Yeah,
Look,
maybe.
look,
No,
look, 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 look. She's looking at what's waste of space. Nikki Haley. Oh
right,
yeah,
right, right.
please
No,
become ambassador to the United Nations. That's one more step. Then that's all it is. It's pure opportunism.
right. Well, I think in her case, I think probably. I mean,
Oh,
she
you're right. We talked about the conversion and no, no, no.
that
We're
that
talking about
that's
that
that's a
was
different
Morgan.
one. That's the that's Morgan Ortega's. Well, she's the one who converted in Saudi Arabia, in the U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia. Um, well, Stefanik is Jewish, and I think the Jewishness is. I think it's part of her
Okay.
identity, but it doesn't make any difference because
Okay.
again, it has nothing to do with United States. United States is not supposed to set policy according to somebody invoking the Bible, biblical claims for which there's no historical evidence. I mean, it's just I mean, even if you're going to start taking this seriously, you say there's no historical evidence for any of these claims in the Bible. Um,
Yeah, at least Stefanik, she thinks that the West Bank has an American zip code or something.
but I think when he says here, almost everything's demolished and people are dying there. Like it's again, well, how did that happen? So the suggestion is that they're demolished, like these bad people, again, like Trump with his real estate, bad people who are not looking after their property. So they, like, they're letting their property deteriorate. Um,
Or I mean, if suddenly just came on the scene and reading this and say almost everything's demolished and people are dying there, you could legitimately ask the question, well, what happened? Was there an earthquake?
exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. The people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing at a different location where they can maybe live in peace. But why should the Arab nations get involved with you and build housing so that they may live in peace? Why would they do this? I mean, they didn't do it. They didn't do any demolishing. I mean, if they demolish, you can say, okay, well, you have to pay some restitution. But why should they do this? Why should they essentially put themselves in harm's way and build housing? Uh, so anyway,
They
he
they
then
they they want these Arab countries to solve a problem that is not theirs.
right,
Okay,
right,
it comes
exactly,
from somewhere else. It
right.
comes from um, uh, a colonizing settler project
Right.
supported by the West.
That's right. Trump said the relocation of the population could be temporary or long term. My money would be on long term. His latest comments come during a fragile ceasefire in Gaza that has brought the release of 7 Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails and the surge of humanitarian aid to the battered enclave. I always love it, battered. It's like,
Yeah.
who battered it?
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I mean, and also we have Israeli hostages, but we have Palestinian prisoners.
that's right. That's right. Um, And and then this is CNN. Trump suggests his plan for Gaza Strip is to clean out the whole thing.
Oh God.
And then President Donald Trump indicated Saturday that he had spoken with the King of Jordan about potentially building housing and moving more than 1 million Palestinians, again, more than 1 million, from Gaza to neighboring countries, a remarkable proposal from a sitting U.S. president.
What about the rest of the people in Gaza?
That's
They're
right.
going to be servants or migrant workers
Yes,
or
yes. The answer is I think that's the plan. You're going to need some servants for those beachfront properties that you're going to be building. I mean, somebody's got to prepare the breakfast, on the Mediterranean. So that's work.
I mean, hopefully Trump has the discipline. I'm not saying, well, maybe it could be a Trump plaza there. I don't know. Okay, I'll talk to my son-in-law. Okay.
um, Trump said he asked Jordan's King Abdullah, a key U.S. partner in the region, to take in more Palestinians in the Saturday phone call.
Again, this was not part of the White House readout or the
It's not. It's
Jordanian.
not in the White House readout. So this is just from Trump's conversations, not in the White House readout, and the Palestinian and King Abdullah's site also made no mention of this. I said to him that I'd love you to take on more because I'm looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess. And then Jordan's state news agency, Petra, reported the call with Trump, but made no mention of relocating Palestinians. The kingdom is already home to more than 2.39 million registered Palestinian refugees, according to the UN. Trump said that he would like both Jordan and Egypt, which borders the battered enclave. Oh, battered. They like this word. To house people.
Sounds like a bad marriage, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yes, that's right. Battered wife syndrome. Yes, battered enclave syndrome. Battered enclave to house people, and that he would speak to Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi about the matter. And then he goes, you're talking about 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing, Trump said, adding that there have been centuries-long conflicts in the region.
What is he talking about?
I have no idea, but again, you can say about almost any region in the world, there are centuries-long conflicts. Wherever there's a region and there's people, there's going to be conflicts. I mean, there's nothing unique there.
You're just absolutely right. If there's a region, by definition, there are century-long conflicts. Yes.
Exactly, because there are people living there, and chances are these people are in conflict with one another.
What this does is, again, this is part of the mantra that you and I were brought up with. They've been at war with each other from time immemorial.
Right.
This is the nonsense that we were brought up with. Okay, it's difficult. It's complicated. No, it's not difficult. It's not complicated. Okay, and there have not been century-long conflict in the way it is the way we see this conflict today.
Right.
It's utter nonsense. It's people are lying to you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, but exactly, he put it centuries long. Say, well, it's not really centuries long. I mean, we're talking about, since 1948, 1967, and whatever. I mean, it's relatively recent,
I mean, it's also here. Again, I don't understand, I would say, editorial standards here or lack thereof. But Trump said, adding, where are the quote marks? Did he actually say that? This is really bad journalism.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I looked on the White House website. Is there a transcript of his remarks? I haven't seen one yet, so I don't know if they're going to do it. We'll see whether they actually publish a transcript of his remarks. But interestingly, that this doesn't get the kind of play in the media that, the January the 6th, or January the 6th, January the 6th. Who cares about January the 6th? It's just an issue. It's a dead issue. But the media constantly play on this. But this, which is quite shocking and quite outrageous, and you're basically now overturning, 70 years of U.S. policy. That's news. That's a big deal. And you should challenge Trump on this.
And what major media is doing is they want to turn the page on this, George. Yep. Because they're of their own culpability in all of it. Okay. Right. I mean, isn't it really interesting, everyone, in what George has presented us here? Usually they would be Trump erroneously said.
That's right, exactly.
In Trump's opening marks, he lied. Okay,
false. Trump falsely claimed.
Yes. Falsely claimed. There's none of that here. Isn't that interesting to you?
Exactly. None of that. That's not. Yeah, Trump falsely claimed. Exactly. None of that here. He continued, quote, I don't know, something has to happen, but it's literally a demolition site right now. Almost everything's demolished and people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing in a different location where I think they could maybe live in peace for a change.
Again, a different location. This is called forced expulsion. Right. Okay, I mean, again, they are buffering Trump from legal facts. Okay, it's kind of like, look, we're going to do we need to fumigate this part of the city. We need you to move down the street here. Okay, it's not. This is. And this is not a choice. Right. Not like, we'd like to provide you. No, you are going to be moved. Pack your things. In 2 hours, you're going to get on a truck.
That's exactly right. And the point is that if it were that easy, if it were that you could just buy them out, say, okay, how much do you want? How much do you want to move out of Gaza and go somewhere else? Name your sum. It would have been done a long time ago. That's the point. It has not been done because whether they're living in Gaza and then the West Bank, they're not prepared to go and abandon essentially the Palestinian statehood, which is what this is about. This is saying, okay, there's not going to be a Palestinian state because there are not going to be any people there to comprise a Palestinian state. But, if that's all that was needed, like a real estate developer comes along to people, there's obdurate people who insist on living where their ancestors lived, then you say, okay, well, how much do you want? What name a sum, and we'll give you the sum. It would have been done. The fact is that it's a non-starter, and not only is a non-starter, if he wants to go down and pursue the Abraham Accords, which he seems to want to, that's his baby, Abraham Accords, and wants to get the Saudis involved with the Abraham Accords, then that's not going to do it. Again, the Saudis, not one Arab state is going to sign off on Palestinians leaving either the West Bank and Gaza and making a home in some other Arab state. It cannot happen.
What we get is, depending on where this story goes, eminent domain is going to be eventually mentioned, as if, it has been decided that you have to move. Okay. They're not going to tell you who decided. Okay. But it's a done deal. This chapter of this battered territory, this battered history.
But that's it. But the problem is
with these battered brains,
that's it.
Come to an end.
But eminent domain, that means there has to be a sovereign government who can
step in.
No,
they're not going to mention that part. They're not going to mention
exactly. So the United States has no business, actually buying anybody out in Gaza. I mean, I'm sure they would like to do it, but because you don't have any sovereign authority, you can't just simply buy anyone out. Anyway, President, former property developer, said that the potential housing could be temporary or could be long-term. And so that's it. Well, I mean, I think, as you say, the question is, where does this story go? Now, you can be pretty sure that in Israel, they're kind of following this quite closely. So, oh, that's nice. It's the first time any American president has talked about just picking up 1.5 million people and just dumping them somewhere. And hey, make your home somewhere else. And I think they will find themselves quite encouraged by this. Again, if Trump can go down this path, Trump can align himself with Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, or he can pursue, friendship with Saudi Arabia. He can't do both. I mean, he's talking about his first foreign trip will be to Saudi Arabia. Well, that's a non-starter if he's talking along these lines.
Exactly. And speaking to you earlier about Steve Woodcock's visit, my default position is I don't believe the official story. Okay. Sorry. That's where I am. Maybe that was part of the conversation, George. Why don't you stop killing them and just get rid of them? Push them out. We got you back. I'm not saying that was said.
Right.
What I'm just saying is that logic would dictate it would dovetail into that. Look, stop killing them. Look what you're doing to yourself. Look what you're doing to us.
Right.
The guy that just left the White House is going to live in shame for the rest of his short existence.
It would, but
Trump doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. So get rid of these people.
Right. But if they do that, and if they push them into Sinai, if they push them into Jordan, there will be such turmoil in the Middle East. Again, it'll bring to an end the Trump presidency. I mean, essentially, it'll be, right away, it'll be 4 wasted years.
It's the second time George has said that to me today. And I think he's right.
Right. That's right. It's like, that's it. You can kiss your second term goodbye because you've got a horrific crisis in the Middle East. You didn't need to have this. There was absolutely no, just like Biden, there was no reason to have this horrific crisis in Gaza. There was no reason to have that war in Ukraine. And that's it. It basically, destroyed your your administration and destroyed your reputation. I think you'll go down in history as a
Okay,
horrific, terrible president.
this is an important point, and I think it remains to be seen, but I think it's beginning to play out. I have, over the last few months, on my program here, talking with George, I think even in our live streams, is that this issue is important to Trump in and as much it's about his legacy.
Right.
Does he care about Palestinians? I seriously doubt it. Okay. Does he care about Ukrainians and Russians?
No.
Does he care about the British? I don't think he cares about anybody. Okay.
No.
But one thing is clear, and Trump is aware of this because he said it. I'm paraphrasing here, but you're not looking good here. It's a bad look, this genocide.
Right.
Those are my words. I'm not putting them in Trump's.
Yep.
But I think that this does I'm not surprised that who's telling him in his circle, you're talking to the king of Jordan. We need this one. Talk about this one. Okay. Right. And if Trump automatically, development, okay, I got this one. I got it. Okay.
Right.
I'm sure that's his reaction to it. Okay.
Right.
And what I find morally disturbing, and I've said many times here, is that geopolitics and morality don't mix well. Okay. So I'm not going to, Greenland, if it's there for the taking, take it, I guess. Okay. Is that a good politics? Probably not. But is it geopolitics and a great power move? Of course it is. But with this issue here, this is what people are going to remember you for. And Trump, like no other president since Grover Cleveland, and nobody remembers him, and nobody should. But he's on the clock, George. He's
right.
on the clock.
No, that's exactly right, and that's what's really interesting, because so Trump arrives into the presidency. He has a very different way of looking at the world than the Biden administration. In fact, than his predecessor. He doesn't look at it in any moral way. He has absolutely no moral vision. And then you think, okay, well, that's kind of refreshing. You can stop talking about the rules-based order, democracies versus autocracies. Liberalism must prevail. Okay, he doesn't care about any of that. But the problem is he's replacing that with a kind of very superficial view of the real estate guy. So that doesn't work either. Hey, all you really need to do is to move out. We'll give you some money, move out, go somewhere else, and then we'll build some wonderful beachfront properties here. That's his view of the world. That's as inadequate in its own way as the view of the Biden people, that somehow you go to this moral division between the good guys and the bad guys. So we're just seeing the limitations of his worldview. The whole idea that the Palestinians, the only thing that matters is just to have a nice piece of beachfront property, and once you have that, then all your problems are going to be solved. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's unfortunate. And so now we're seeing the limitations of his worldview as opposed to the limitations of the Biden worldview.
But what's really tragic, right, agreeing with you completely, what's really tragic is that you take these ideologues around him and say, yes, this is how we solve Israel's problem. But see, Trump is saying, no, a problem, real estate, relocation. He's probably already thinking about, who can I get as a developer? I'll send Jared over. Right. See, he's looking at it like in a tunnel, but everyone else is saying, yeah, this is exactly yeah. So you see how they come in. Trump doesn't see the ideological, metaphysical even element of it, and that's what it's really creepy how they both
they mesh together. That's right. So he's got all these, the Huckabees, the Elise Stefanik's, who's the guy who was the ambassador before, David Friedman. I mean, these are fanatics. These are absolute Zionist fanatics. Trump isn't that. But as long as you can tell them, but there's a lot of money to be made here. We can make Gaza into an absolutely beautiful Paris. We can have a Trump Tower here, a Trump Plaza there, and all your real estate friends in New York, they're all going to make a lot of money. And Trump, that sounds good. But as long as the Palestinians are running Gaza, you're not going to make any money.
Well,
Okay, so what's the solution? Let's get rid of the Palestinians.
and let's not forget the West Bank. That's where we're speaking right now. There's a video floating around. It's really horrific. Is that these huge bulldozers just taking out entire roads? They
Yeah,
don't want the West Bank to be inhabitable.
right.
Okay, we saw this in Gaza. We saw this in southern Lebanon, and this process is starting. And once and again, this is going to be the perversion of one of the great perversions of our time because Trump will be doing the bidding of the Zionist faction in the
Mhm.
US, and they're going to praise the hell out of him.
Right,
Look, all these roads are destroyed. How can people live there for God's sake? Why are they even there?
right,
There's no hygiene there, there's no running water, just
right.
15 kilometers down across over there. They can live there.
That's
God help their souls,
that's
okay? They can live in peace there. Watch, George.
no, no,
Watch.
no, no, absolutely, and that's the way he's thought all his life as real estate. He was saying, hey, there are all these people living in this on this land. This land could be really valuable if somebody like me took it over, and I can build, resorts and apartment blocks, your shopping centers, and so on. But why am I not able to do it? Because I've got these obstreperous, dirty, filthy, smelly people who just don't want to go. So, I got to get somebody to get them out. I'll try and see if I can get the city government to get them out. That's how he thinks. And that's the problem, so it's refreshing in one sense to think, okay, good, we don't have this moralist any longer in the White House, because that's just not the way to view the world. But you can't have just a real estate guy either, because that's also not the way to view the world. For the Palestinians, there's things that they care about more than to have lucrative properties and making money on gambling casinos. There are things people care about, and it goes beyond just owning valuable property.
We'll see where this goes. I mean, I'm really glad we discussed it because I came across this story earlier today and I checked major news outside and I couldn't find anything.
Right,
Okay. As usual, Al Jazeera picks it up, an affiliate of antiwar.com, but I mean,
right,
in our lane.
right,
Okay.
right,
But, and now George found the mainstream, but it's so
right.
sanitized.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly. It
sanitized
is very sanitized, and as you said,
and no
that's
criticism of Trump.
exactly, that's not the way they usually report Trump. It's always, Trump falsely said, Trump lied when he said this, or Trump said misleadingly. There's none of this. Apparently he's not being misleading when he starts talking about, hey, this place is demolished. It's like a demolition site. So he's not being misleading when he says that. Oh, that's fine. Just, okay. They just let it go. Nothing to
Yeah,
see here,
and,
folks.
it's like a demolition site, and the writer or the editor and said after 15 months of Israeli bombardment,
Yeah,
weapons supplied by the United States
that's right.
with a blank check given by the Biden administration. None of that's there.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
but if it's another topic, they're going to absolutely do
right.
that against Trump.
That's
Okay,
right. That's right. Exactly.
one of the problems here, and it's about his psychology and he will pick up on it at some point is that well at least they like me doing this.
Hmm.
I like being liked. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's a terrifying
Right.
proposition, George.
It really is, and we kind of worried about this. We worried that somehow his policy, his administration will be hijacked by these Zionist fanatics, and we worried, and then we made arguments in the other direction. Well, this is he's not going to have another term. He doesn't need Zionist money the way he did back in during his first term. Maybe he'll just think in terms of a lasting legacy. Maybe he'll think of some settlement, long-term settlement between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And, we kind of said this, kind of in hope, more in hope than in expectation. And now our worst, anxieties have been fulfilled, because that's exactly what we dreaded, that he would be saying. And lo and behold, he's saying it.
Well, we What was the exact wording? Israel needs to finish it off. I think those were the words or
Something
something like that.
clean the place out.
Well, I mean, before, months before, he needs to finish this
Oh
off.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is, the next installment of finishing
Right,
it off.
right,
Okay. And this, George is absolutely right. This is what we feared most.
right. Exactly.
Okay. Not to reassess policy, but to accelerate it.
Right. Exactly.
All right, everybody, we're going to keep an eye on this very important story. I'd just like to point out that, we're doing this Sunday. This is January 26th. It's almost 7 o'clock p.m. in Moscow. Just a proposition to everybody. Because of the time difference, how many people are going to be talking about this in podcasts over the next 12 to 18 hours? I'm just curious because I've been noticing this Monday morning, the Sunday after George and I talk. Oh,
Yes.
you noticed?
Yeah, I've noticed that exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we blaze a trail and then lo and behold, suddenly, oh, well, this is an important story. Why isn't anybody covering this important story? We must cover this important story. You thought, yeah, we actually did it a day ago.
All right, everybody. On that note, this is a Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Locals, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. This is our Sunday mega wrap. Yeah, tomorrow we have a live stream at 10 p.m. Eastern
10
time.
a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern time. Exactly. So 10 a.m. Eastern time. Please join us. Come with comments, observations, questions. We love questions. So the tougher and questions, the better. We find them very stimulating. In the meantime, there's this awkward problem of these savage hounds because now they're all in on it. All of the hounds are basically got the bit between their teeth about this lack of progress with the tip jar. See now, Johnny Apple says, "Yeah, I've had it. I've had it up to here with the lack of movement." So if you have a few coins in your pocket, under the cushion, under the sofa, whip them out straight into the tip jar. Try to put them into a better mood. We're very grateful for all your help and friendship and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology, and maybe we'll be able to get these dogs through this bitter Moscow winter. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.